Himuro was a loner who was cursed to freeze anything he touched. However, when he forms a crush on his hot co-worker, she slowly helps him learn how to control his powers so they can finally smash. Everything started when Himuro was supposed to begin working at his new job, but he got too nervous about it and lost control of his powers. His condition triggered snowballs falling from the sky, but a hottie named Suki saw it and became drawn to him. She asked what was up with him, so he told her he was nervous about starting his new job. Hearing this, Suki was stunned because even though she knew a few nervous people, she had never seen a case where someone literally froze up. She tried to dissolve the ice with hot tea, but when nothing happened, she offered him the tea instead, and it helped calm his nerves down. Himuro was shocked when the ice began to melt, so he opened up to Suki about being a descendant of a snow woman. After thanking her for helping him with his anxiety, he walked away to get to work on time. On the way, he couldn't help but think about Suki, but he was left completely shocked when he arrived at work and saw that Suki was his new coworker. Seeing her, he became nervous and ended up triggering a blizzard, but he calmed down when his other colleagues showed up. The following day, Himuro triggered another blizzard because he was fired up from sitting so close to Suki. She saw a picture of flowers on his desk and asked if he liked them, so he told her he did, but he couldn't touch them because they would freeze up. Suki felt bad after hearing this, so when she got home that day, she surfed the internet to find a flower Himuro could touch. The following morning, she gave him a pack of straw mulch and told him it would help prevent flowers from dying to frost. Himuro got excited and thanked her, but ended up triggering another blizzard. It was at this point that he realized he had fallen for her already. That afternoon, he triggered another blizzard while seeing a picture of a cat, so Suki got curious and asked if he liked kitties that much. He said yes, but explained that he couldn't touch cats because of his powers. After hearing this, Suki showed him a video of her cat, but she noticed how sad he felt just watching the video. The next day, she showed up carrying a box filled with her cat's whiskers and told him to touch them instead because he couldn't get his hands on the real thing. Suki felt shy after giving him the gift because of how far she went to get it, but when Himuro noticed, he got too excited and accidentally triggered a blizzard. After work, Himuro wondered how he could repay Suki's kindness and eventually figured out the answer. A week later, he handed her a gift, and when she opened it, it was the limited chocolate orange sweet cream she had been dying to try. Curious, she asked how he got it since it was sold out everywhere, and Himuro only said he got lucky. But in reality, he had searched the whole city to find it. She then thanked him, and after he saw her cute smile, he unleashed another strong blizzard. Later that afternoon, Suki and the others found Himuro in low spirits after misplacing some documents. He surrounded himself with an ice wall as he rewrote the missing files. Suki offered to help, and just hearing her kind words made the ice wall shatter. Still stubborn, he insisted on solving it himself, so Suki bid him farewell and apparently headed home with the others. But to his surprise, she returned minutes later to give him coffee and to tell him not to push himself too hard. After she leaves again, Himuro tried to calm himself, but ended up freezing the coffee while thinking about how cool and cute Suki was. The next day, Himuro noticed Saejima wasn't feeling well, so he tried patching him up with an ice pack and even offered to help him with his work. While at it, Suki walked and complimented Himuro for what he was doing, and when she left, snowmen popped up everywhere again. Seeing this, Saejima told Himuro that despite his powers, he really had a warm personality. Later that night, Suki returned home and realized that it had already been a month since she met Himuro. Coincidentally, Himuro was having the same thought, happy that he got to see Suki every day. The next day at work, their manager announced the new employee workshop would be held in Okinawa. Hearing this, Himuro was terrified because he was convinced something awful was going to happen if he went. As everyone began preparing for the trip, most of the coworkers could hardly contain their excitement, looking forward to the getaway. Himuro, however, was devastated by the news. He withdrew to the staircase and sat alone, sinking so deeply into his worries that he unconsciously stirred up a small blizzard around him. Concerned, Suki approached to ask why he looked so down, and Himuro explained that he tends to lose control of his powers in warm climates. What troubled him even more was that this retreat was specifically organized for the recruits, which meant the rules wouldn't excuse him from attending. Suki noticed how nervous he was, and later that evening, she carefully did her research and came up with a way to ease his mind. The following morning, she handed him a surf drum, which she had spent the whole night making. It was a simple tool designed to mimic the sound of the ocean, helping him become accustomed to it. The small gesture helped him feel a little more confident about managing his powers, and he trained desperately for the big event. Although it proved difficult, Himuro eventually grew accustomed to the sound of the waves, thereby subduing his powers. When the day of the trip arrived, the staff were excited to travel together. On the bus to Okinawa, Suki checked up on Himuro to see how he was doing and offered him snacks to calm his nerves. Arriving at the destination, the staff got settled and, after a while, completed all the official assignments they had been given. At the beach, the difference in climate hit Himuro hard as the hot weather was a complete contrast to the icy environment he was used to, and his body struggled to adjust. While Saejima and Komori got into the water, Suki stayed under a shade with Himuro. She asked how he was coping, and he replied that as long as he kept himself out of the sun, he wouldn't melt. He thanked her for the surf drum she had given him, stating that his training with it was the reason he could calmly look at the sea without causing any blizzards. The two talked about their past experiences, leading to Suki handing him a travel guidebook she had made in anticipation of the retreat. Shortly after, Suki got a text from her pet sitter, who sent her pictures of Naimaro. She showed the photos to Himuro, and for some weird reason, he got so excited that he almost transformed the entire beach into an ice hockey pitch. Later, while Himuro was out sightseeing, he stumbled upon a toy shop and started looking for something to buy. Just then, Suki showed up at the same time, aiming to purchase the very same toy. Being the gentleman he was, Himuro insisted that she take it instead. In return, Suki offered to help him pick out another one that was just as cool. The little exchange excited Himuro so much that he accidentally lost control of his powers, causing small patches of snow to appear here and there. The tourists nearby were puzzled by the sudden change in weather, but they brushed it off, assuming it was artificial snow put there for their amusement. At this point, Himuro was low-key panicking, but he did his best to play it cool. The next morning, Himuro woke up and was stunned when he heard the weather forecast announcing that the day would be unbearably hot. Panicking, he threw on his clothes and rushed out to a store in search of ice, desperate to find some way to keep himself from overheating and melting down. When he finally arrived at the only convenience store in the area, he was horrified to discover that there was nothing remotely cold due to a power failure. The shop attendant tried to reassure him, explaining that a repairman was scheduled to arrive by noon. But Himuro knew all too well that he didn't have that much time to wait. He headed back out, searching for another solution. Meanwhile, when breakfast time arrived, Suki grew concerned after realizing Himuro was nowhere to be found. Wondering what could have happened to him, she set out to look for him, and after a bit of searching, she finally discovered him in the shade, trying to keep himself out of the scorching heat. To her surprise, however, Himuro's body had shrunk down into a small, younger version of himself. The combination of the sweltering temperature and his ice powers had forced his body into this regressed state, leaving him embarrassed and vulnerable. Himuro explained his predicament, but Suki assured him that he would be fine. Seeing that he desperately needed something to cool him down, Suki hurried off and soon returned with a popsicle. Explaining that she had managed to grab it from the breakfast buffet, Himuro accepted it shyly, and while they sat together, she gently stroked his hair, reassuring him. Suki couldn't help but find his small form adorable, though she was also concerned for his well-being. Not long after, Himuro suddenly returned to his normal adult size, catching both of them off guard. Suki then grew flustered and suggested that they head back for breakfast. For some reason, she seemed more nervous around his adult version than his younger version. The trip continued without further issues, and Himuro managed to stay stable with Suki's support while they had fun with the rest of the staff. After dinner one night, the team took a detour, which led them to a fireworks festival. Excited, they all took pictures together to commemorate the event. It was then revealed that Suki had secretly taken a picture of Himuro in his younger form, while the rest of the team stared at the fireworks. She stared at the picture. She determined that this special photo would remain her own private treasure, and that not even Batman would be able to find out about it. At the end of the trip, their boss congratulated the entire staff for their hard work, but then dropped a bombshell on them, stating that their temporary assignments had ended and that they would now be reassigned to new roles in the office. When the boss announced that the staff's permanent assignments would be given to them in a week, Himuro got flustered. He had assumed they would keep working with the same arrangement they were assigned, but now, realizing that he might get separated from Suki, scared him deeply. Over the weekend, he grew extremely nervous, checking his phone from time to time to see if the placement announcement had been posted. As he awaited the news, he turned to the whiskers Suki had given him from her cat, and recalled Suki told him it was a good luck charm, so he genuinely wished that they would get to keep working together in the same department. Suki felt the same way too, and when the placement was finally revealed, they were thrilled to be assigned to the same department, along with the rest of their friends. The next day at work, Himuro realized that Suki had been assigned to sit right next to him, and he got so excited that he built a snow castle in the office even faster than Princess Elsa during her infamous karaoke night. Later at home, Himuro recalled the recent events and realized that Suki might actually be the GOAT, based on how frequently she had been turning up for him in this season of his life. He decided it was only natural to show his gratitude, but he didn't know exactly how. The following morning, while catching a train to work, he picked up his phone, making sure no one could glimpse his rather unique browser history, and looked up top 10 ways to show a girl gratitude. Then he decided that treating her to a meal wouldn't be such a bad idea. Later at work during lunch break, he eavesdropped on Suki's conversation with Komori, hoping to learn her preferences, but overheard her tell Komori that she wasn't a picky eater. Still bothered, he came up with an idea and listed a series of restaurants, asking her to pick her favorite, but she told him she liked them all. While this should have been good news, it only added to his stress because it left him with too many options on where to take her. He grew more bothered brainstorming for the rest of the day, accidentally freezing his work desk in the process. The following day, Himuro contemplated asking Suki out for dinner directly, but the thought alone made him so nervous that he completely froze up in front of the office vending machine. Suki, who happened to pass by at that very moment, saw him stuck. Recalling from experience that Himuro tended to freeze when stressed, she offered to give him a massage to help calm his nerves. Agreeing, Himuro let Suki give him a foot massage that apparently caused him more pain than relief as he screamed in agony. Ignoring his cries, Suki assured him that he could achieve anything he set his mind to as long as he was confident. Himuro then summoned the courage he needed and asked her to dinner, clearly stating that he merely wanted to show his appreciation for everything she had done for him, especially during the Okinawa incident. Suki, completely taken off guard by his request, agreed, so Himuro immediately made reservations at a fancy restaurant. Later at the restaurant that evening, the two were so nervous and excited over dinner that they forgot how to speak. Their awkward silence was then broken by a call Suki received from work, so she excused herself to answer it. When she returned to the table, she saw the waiter asking Himuro if she was his date, and to her surprise, he confirmed it. Realizing she had overheard him refer to her as his date, Himuro grew so embarrassed that he melted like an ice cube. The following morning at work, Saejima Akali tried to hold a conversation with Himuro, but Himuro couldn't help thinking about the embarrassing events that had happened on his date with Suki. When it was lunchtime, Saejima and Himuro accidentally stumbled into Komori, asking Suki how she felt about Himuro in the break room. To their surprise, Suki admitted that she felt she didn't really know Himuro, recalling how they had struggled to connect over dinner the night before. Yet, despite that, she confessed that she still liked him and wanted to know him better. She even went on to add that she wanted to build a snowman and go sledding with him. Himuro felt a wave of relief that he had held off and listened to her all the way to the end before reacting. After work, Himuro seized the moment and asked Suki to exchange contact information. To his surprise, he found her details saved under Nayamaro's name. Joking that texting her felt like talking to her cat, he admitted he actually found it adorable. Later that evening, Suki sent him a picture of herself with Nayamaro, and Himuro became so overjoyed that he froze not just his phone, but his entire apartment. The following morning, Himuro woke up to find a text from Suki wishing him a productive day, firing him up with motivation. Later at work, Suki gently reminded him not to skip lunch, showing him the time on her smartphone. But Himuro noticed in that moment that her lock screen wallpaper was the group photo they had all taken during the employee retreat. He got low-key excited but tried to hide it as he headed out of the office to grab lunch. He eventually realized halfway through that he had forgotten his wallet, so he immediately returned to grab it. Back at the office, he noticed Suki quickly put her phone down, just like how you losers did when your mums caught you gooning. When he asked her about it, she brushed it off, insisting it was nothing. But in reality, she was flustered because she couldn't risk him finding out that her home screen wallpaper was the picture she had secretly taken of him when he shrank down during the retreat. Eventually, Suki decided to tag along and join him for lunch, and on their way, they unexpectedly ran into Katori, Himuro's old friend, who happened to be a descendant of the Phoenix. Katori revealed that he had recently quit his job as an artist and now worked for the company as a salesman. He even showed off some of his unique artworks to the gang for some unnecessary aura points, trying to figure out the reason he left his job. Komori asked if he did it in pursuit of Himuro, but Himuro firmly told her she needed to take a break from Wattpad for her own sanity. Before Katori could explain the real reason for his transfer, Otanashi, his superior, showed up to summon him back to work, and Katori got excited as he followed her energetically. The following day at work, Himuro and Suki bumped into each other in typical K-drama fashion, causing her to drop a stack of papers. While he helped her rearrange them, he noticed a movie flyer about a cat show and realized she was into that type of film. She got flustered and tried to hide the flyer, but he immediately told her he wouldn't mind seeing the movie too. Without hesitating, she invited him to the cinema to watch it when it was released the following week, and he agreed. Since they'd be seeing the sequel at the theater, he decided to watch the first film by himself at home. Later that night, after finishing the movie, he sent Suki a message about it. To his surprise, she replied right away, revealing that she was also rewatching the first film at the exact same time, and they ended up chatting back and forth about their favorite parts. During the conversation, she asked what kind of seats he'd prefer at the theater, and not wanting to seem picky, he told her he was fine with whatever she chose. The thought of going to the cinema with her excited him so much that night that he froze in his bed while sleeping. When the day finally arrived, Himuro and Suki met up and headed to the cinema. Unknown to them, Saejima had also come to the same theater, though to see a different film. He spotted them from a distance before heading into his own compartment. Saejima had planned on spending his day off enjoying a solo movie, but his peaceful outing was cut short when Katori suddenly showed up and plopped into the seat right next to him. Meanwhile, Himuro and Suki had the time of their lives in their theater, with Himuro feeling grateful that Suki was giving him the chance to enjoy new experiences, plus holding on to the hope that maybe one day, he might actually get to clap her as well. When the film reached an emotional scene, Suki cried just like every other youngster in the theater, so Himuro handed her a handkerchief, and she thanked him warmly for it. On the way out, Suki playfully teased him, asking what kind of blizzard might erupt if he ever cried, but Himuro just laughed it off. Since there was still plenty of time left in the day, the two decided to continue their outing at a cafe. The following day, Himuro and Suki discovered they had both been scheduled to work late. Rather than seeing it as a burden, they treated it as a chance to spend more time together and strengthen their bond. During their shift, Suki casually mentioned that Komori had invited her out to dinner, but she had been forced to decline because of work obligations. As a result, Komori ended up inviting Saejima instead. On their way, Saejima playfully scolded Komori for not having any friends other than Suki because of her bad character, and she was about to get violent to prove his point when they ran into Kotori and Otonashi, who had also stepped out for dinner. They decided to make it a group hangout. Over dinner, Kotori chattered endlessly about the movie he and Saejima had seen together, but the conversation shifted when Saejima let slip that he had also spotted Himuro and Suki together at the cinema. Meanwhile, back at the office, Himuro and Suki waited for calls from clients, the long hours dragging on. To pass the time, they started playing little games to lighten the mood. First was a word train game, where each person had to say a word beginning with the final syllable of the others. They went back and forth, laughing as the challenge grew harder. At one point, Suki came up with a word that sounded like a love confession, but at the last second, she twisted it into a different word, leaving Himuro flustered yet amused. When the word game started to lose its spark, they switched to a drawing game, each sketching something while the other guessed what it was. Both turned out to be terrible at drawing, but it didn't matter. Their laughter and closeness made up for it. Back at the pub, although Saejima admitted he had spotted the pair at the cinema, he claimed he had no idea which film they'd seen. That sent the group spiraling into wild speculation, running through the list of movies playing that day and trying to deduce which one the lovebirds had watched. Their gossip turned into full-on theories about the budding chemistry between Himuro and Suki. Their suspicions only grew stronger when Himuro and Suki surprised them by sending over portraits they had each drawn of the other. Kotori got so hyped about Himuro's progress that he nearly lit up the whole restaurant with his phoenix energy, though actual fireworks lighting up the night outside helped carry the excitement instead. Eventually, Himuro and Suki received the long-awaited client calls. Before heading out, Himuro mustered the courage to invite her to a cozy late-night dinner, and to his delight, she happily agreed. Overwhelmed, he accidentally whipped up a snowstorm, freezing his phone solid while she stepped away to pack her things. Later, when Kotori tried to call him to catch up, the phone didn't even ring since it was still locked in a block of ice. In a convenience store, Himuro stared at a Marumapan flyer, feeling sad that the giveaway campaign was already running and he had just found out about it. He looked at the reward and decided he wanted it. During lunch break at work, Himuro and Suki finished their lunch, and Himuro discovered he could earn a point from each prepackaged roll of bread. Komori joined them late, so they asked her why. She explained that urgent work had come in and she had to finish it first. After placing her lunch on the table, Himuro asked Komori why she liked Kitsune Udon instant noodles so much. Hearing this, Komori revealed her fluffy fox ears and happily informed them that it was normal for her since she was the descendant of a fox spirit. Minutes later, Saejima walked into the break room and saw Komori wagging her tail happily while savoring her lunch. He casually walked up to her and said her tail was flipping up her skirt. Embarrassed, Komori exclaimed and gave him the side eye for staring at her plot armor, while Saejima quickly defended himself. Defeated, Komori rubbed her head and explained that her tail and ears came out whenever she was happy or let her guard down. Confused, he asked why she even hid them, since her true form looked cute. Seeing her reaction, he followed with a low blow, clarifying he meant her tail. Komori sighed and scolded herself for getting worked up over nothing. She pointed at Saejima and warned him he wouldn't let go of his grip if he kept behaving that way. He quickly retorted, and as she continued eating, he noted to himself that he should have worded things better. Back at home, Himuro stared at the flyer. Knowing it would take 2 weeks of consistency to earn the points needed, he decided not to buy them all at once since the deadline was still far. So he stuck with his usual routine, 2 prepackaged rolls per day for 2 points. The next morning, Suki woke up for work, greeted Naimuro, her cat, and went through her morning routine. While eating breakfast, she watched Marumapan's giveaway commercial and noted she only needed a few more points. Meanwhile, Komori woke up grumpy to her alarm and fumbled through her clothes. As she freshened up and got ready, she lamented like a scattered brain for not preparing her outfit the night before. Suki, on the other hand, bid Naimuro farewell and left for work early, while Komori scrambled to put herself together. Suki boarded the train and later met up with Himuro exactly at the time she had texted him. Komori, however, got sandwiched on the train, and by the time she arrived at work, she looked completely exhausted. Noticing her tired state, Suki offered her an energy bar to keep her going during rush hour. Komori tried it and thanked Suki, saying she already felt energized. As she snacked on the rest of the bar, she noticed a prize hidden in the package. Some moments later, Saejima showed up at work and saw Komori holding a Tanuki figurine. Instantly, a wave of nostalgia hit him as he remembered collecting such figurines when she was young. Seeing how happy it made him, Komori decided to start collecting them too, even though she hadn't found a fox model yet. As days passed, Komori's new habit grew, and more Tanuki figures appeared on her desk. At first, she suspected Himuro but quickly ruled him out since he was too busy simping for Suki. The figurines piled up until even Suki commented that Komori's desk looked cute. Meanwhile, Himuro checked his calendar and realized he had miscalculated the giveaway deadline since he might not get the reward after all. Suki noticed him staring at the flyer but didn't say anything. Eventually, Komori completed the entire Tenyuki set, and both Suki and Himuro congratulated her. Looking at the last piece, Komori felt a little sad that her secret helper would stop. Suddenly, Saejima walked in with yet another Tenyuki figure, only to realize she had already completed the set. He congratulated her, and it dawned on Komori that he was her secret helper. He explained that the hunt would actually go on for 7 sets, and that the next one would include a fox figurine. Overjoyed, Komori thanked him and asked why he was being so nice. Saejima casually replied that it was out of love, stunning not just Komori, but Himuro and Suki too. He quickly clarified that it was out of love for fox figurines, then left the room. Komori still blushed. Meanwhile, Himuro looked at his flyer, realizing he might not get enough points in time. To his surprise, Suki walked up to him and showed him hers. That was when he learned she had also been collecting points. With her help, they had enough to win the reward. Overjoyed, Himuro started a blizzard and proclaimed Suki as his fairy. Days later, after retrieving the reward, Himuro handed Suki the other pair, and she promised to treasure it. His heart soared until Katori stormed into the cafeteria, asking for help. After grabbing drinks from the vending machine, Katori confessed to Himuro and Suki that Otonashi had been ignoring him. When asked why, he explained that he had been so grateful to her for always being kind to him that he told her he wanted her to spend the rest of her life with him, to ensure her happiness. Ever since that confession, Otonashi had been avoiding him. Katori wailed, fearing she hated him. Instead of consoling him, Himuro teased Katori, reminding him he was a descendant of the phoenix and would rise again. Suki, however, candidly told Katori that his choice of words was easily misunderstood. She reassured him that Otonashi didn't hate him after all. He wasn't a slacker. Her words lifted his spirits, and he began thinking of ways to win Otonashi over. Unfortunately, Otonashi herself appeared, furious, and scolded him to stop using words that could be misinterpreted. While he stammered, she stormed off and ordered him to stay behind like an obedient puppy. The others wondered if Otonashi was misunderstanding his intentions, but Katori shocked them by admitting he was truly in love with the senior. Katori then recounted how he used to work at a friend's cafe, where Otonashi was their only regular customer. What first captivated him about her was the speed at which she left right after finishing her visit. Like a moth drawn to a flame, he found himself pulled toward her. Through her, he was eventually recruited into her company, and they began working together. At first, he messed up badly, but the ever-so-stern senior corrected him again and again. Within a short period, he adapted faster than the 8-wheeled Divine General. When the company lost a major client, it was thanks to Otonashi's tutelage that he managed to help get them back on track. That day, after being praised for his efforts, he went looking for Otonashi, only to find the stern senior crying tears of joy in private. There, she thanked him for helping her secure the client, and it was at that moment that he decided he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Currently, he lamented that no matter how many times he confessed, Otonashi never took him seriously. Suki suggested he try a different method, so he practiced one on her by kneeling and professing his love with the word eternal slipped in. Though it was only practice, Himuro snapped, furious at the display, and froze Katori solid. To Katori, that reaction was more than enough proof that his words could reach Otonashi. Overjoyed, he thanked Suki and ran off. Left behind, Himuro grumbled that Katori was a pain in the neck, but Suki quietly admitted she wished she had gone to the same school as them. Hearing this, Himuro imagined her in a school uniform, and something inside him stirred, which was definitely not the shield hero. Still, Suki smiled and said that right now, they were already having fun. As soon as she walked off, the poor simp whipped up a blizzard to calm his sausage. During work hours, while taking a sip from her mug, Suki glanced at Himuro and said she realized he did not make eye contact with people while having conversations. Himuro sighed and revealed that he found it hard to do. Komori, who happened to be eavesdropping, interrupted Himuro and teased him for having such a weakness. With a mischievous smile, she suggested Suki train him. Suki agreed to this and asked Himuro to look at the bridge of her nose for a few seconds. Surprisingly, she found his gaze to be intense and gave up, admitting she lost like it was a staring contest. Komori, sensing the tension, teased them, and when Himuro quickly excused himself, she called him a sore loser. After walking into the next room, Himuro exclaimed at how cute Suki was, and as a result, he created multiple mini snowmen. He was discovered by the chief, who offered him 2 tickets to Nekami Land. Himuro tried picturing himself with the chief, doing cute things together at the park, and the image scared him. As if noticing Himuro's worries, the chief clarified that he didn't swing that way, and that he simply got the tickets from a client. He saw Suki walk by and asked her to pair with Himuro in visiting Nekami Land. With that, he handed them the tickets and left for his office. Himuro stared at him, noting he was a better wingman than his other colleagues. As he fantasized about going to the park with Suki, he unconsciously started a blizzard. Later that day, Himuro visited the library to learn more about the park. He hoped he wouldn't flop and could learn the skills needed to bag Suki at the park. Meanwhile, Suki informed Naomuro at her apartment about going to Nekami Land on Sunday. She mentioned the nice rumors she had heard about the place and hoped it would be worth it. The next day, Komori noticed Himuro studying the Nekami book guide as if preparing for an exam. As usual, she asked him who he was going with, and he told her it was Suki. Immediately, she concluded it was a date and vouched to act as his guide since she had been there so much that she had been given an annual pass. After hearing Komori yap on about Nekami Land, going into details like an otaku on their limited edition figurine, Himuro felt like a monkey in a den of lions. He quickly left the break room, but Komori continued waffling on the matter. Eventually, Suki picked it up and then asked her if she had a ticket. Realizing that she would ruin their date, Komori turned her down and mentioned she had an annual pass. Oblivious, Suki suggested that the three of them go to the theme park. Komori, unable to reject the offer, glanced at Saejima and asked him to come along. Before he could reject it, she rushed over to him and told him silently that she would purr for him as much as he liked. Instantly, he accepted and apologized internally to Himuro. Sunday finally arrived, and the four colleagues showed up at Nekami Land. Komori assured everybody to leave everything to her and led the way. Himuro and Suki, who were new to the place, felt the park was too crowded. As Suki looked around, she saw a youngster who looked lost, so she walked up to her. After questioning the lost girl and learning of her circumstances, Suki offered to take her to the Lost People Center. Himuro smiled warmly as he saw how kind Suki was. Meanwhile, Komori, who didn't pay attention to the rest, continued rambling on, and Saejima, who couldn't get his reward out of his mind, finally noticed the others weren't with them. Saejima spotted them but made up his mind to give them some alone time. He then told Komori to go on without them. Worried, Komori asked if it was okay. Saejima, in turn, stared at her closely and asked if she did not like being around him alone. Immediately, she hit him playfully, thinking he was teasing her, but she was unaware of how candid he was. Meanwhile, at the Lost People Center, Suki noticed the girl hiding behind her nervously, so she decided to wait with her until her parents came for her. She told Himuro that they should meet later, but he refused and chose to stay with her. They spent some time playing with the little girl until her parents arrived. After that, they bid her farewell and left the center. Himuro then called Saejima, but Saejima didn't pick up. Confused, Komori asked why, and Saejima replied with a question, asking if she was so eager to get away from him. Again, she nervously brushed him off, thinking he was teasing her. After failing to reach the other colleagues, Suki apologized to Himuro for making him come with her to the Lost People Center. Himuro quickly explained that it was nothing, and that watching others have fun was enough for him. Relieved, Suki looked around and told him how nice the theme park was. The cat-loving freaks immediately went into details on the lovely cats they had seen so far, while Himuro could have scored more points by dropping the last line, telling Suki that she was the cutest he had seen all day. The beta chose to keep it to himself. Shortly after, a youngster, while calling his dad's attention, tried to demonstrate how airplanes take off. Unluckily for him, he printed his face on the pavement, so Himuro rushed to him, picked him up, and consoled him, preventing him from crying. After cheering the youngster up, the boy left with his father and bid Himuro farewell. Amazed, Suki looked at Himuro and said he would make a good father. Himuro quickly mentioned that the small girl enjoyed her company too, but she said he helped with the snowman. She then asked him where they should go next, and he suggested they take a boat ride that presented lazy cats from all around the world. From there, they tried out the ride and spent their remaining time exploring the park. Later that evening, on a Ferris wheel, Suki watched the crowd below and admitted that what Himuro said earlier resonated with her. She called Nekami Land a place of love and joy. Watching his crush happy, Himuro's own happy mood automatically triggered, and he subconsciously released a snow, which surprised the people around. After the ride, Himuro and Suki decided they needed to get souvenirs, so they entered a nearby store. While looking around, Suki picked a pair of matching mugs to remind them of the trip. Himuro immediately agreed and suggested they could use them at the office, but Suki thought their colleagues would get the wrong idea. After handing him the free pass, Himuro struggled to pour out his mind, and just as he was about to confess, Komori showed up and interrupted the precious moment. She acted like she had been looking all over the place for them, and then informed them of the fireworks parade, which would soon begin. Late into the evening, the crowd gathered outside and watched the fireworks illuminate the starry sky, as they remembered a similar event happening in Okinawa. Komori took a group photo. Later that night, on the train back home, Komori, as loud as ever, teased Saejima, but Suki cautioned her not to wake Himuro, who was asleep, but whispered to him that she had fun. On getting to her apartment, Suki greeted Naomuro and told the cat all about her adventures in Nekami Land. She also checked out the souvenirs she got. Coincidentally, Himuro also looked at his items, and in sync, they realized they had 2 matching sets. During work, Himuro saw a poster online about a competition where the winner would go home with 1 billion yen. Shocked, They found it hard to imagine such an amount, so they began asking themselves what they'd do with the money. Most of them concluded on saving it, while Komori said she'd buy 2 high-rise apartments and rent one out for income. Himuro found that weird since nobody would need rental income if they already had 1,000,000,000 yen. Suki, on the other hand, fantasized about drinking Starbucks limited time special every day. Komori quickly did the math and said it would take 1,800 years to exhaust 1,000,000,000 yen at that rate. The conversation shifted from the 1,000,000,000 yen to Starbucks, and the group started thinking about the best way to try out the limited Halloween season offer. One time, after speaking with a client, Himuro went to Starbucks and ordered 4 pumpkin black peppers. As usual, he told them not to bother icing it since he was already a pretty chill dude. When he got back to the office, he saw Suki, who proudly showed him the pumpkin black peppers she had bought earlier. Embarrassed, Himuro tried to hide his bag, but she noticed it and told him they were totally in sync. Later that day during break, she arranged the drinks, and they shared them with their colleagues. Himuro then noticed a Halloween poster on the wall and learned from the company president that it was a group event she was organizing, with the winner taking home 100,000 yen. After she left, Komori informed the group that participation was voluntary, but to her surprise, everyone looked fired up. Later that night, the 4 colleagues held a strategy meeting and learned that Otonashi and Katori were having theirs elsewhere. As they brainstormed costume ideas, Himuro drifted off, imagining Suki cosplaying, and struggled to stay focused. Meanwhile, Suki showed them a pumpkin outfit idea, and they all agreed it was a good choice. She promised to check the general store in her neighborhood. Himuro offered to help her, but when they got to the store, they discovered the costume was sold out. Reassuring her, Himuro suggested checking other stores. They searched around but couldn't find it, so Suki tried on a vampire costume instead, seeing how good she looked in it. Himuro approved instantly. He then walked her home, and when she poked him in the head for not replying to her earlier trick or treat, he found her cute while she scolded him, watching her as she went inside her apartment. The day of the competition arrived, and right after work, the colleagues started getting ready. Suki, however, was held back trying to finish her tasks. While the others headed to the changing room, they spotted Katori looking gloomy. He admitted he had left both his and Otonashi's costumes at his place, which would take over an hour to retrieve, not even counting time to change. Komori suggested he just appear plain, but Saejima quickly pulled up a costume online that could easily be replicated. Encouraged, Katori came up with an idea, but then the president showed up and reminded them she preferred monstrous looks. Suki texted that she was on her way, and once she learned of Katori's dilemma, she suggested something creative. With teamwork, they managed to pull together costumes, and minutes before the event, everyone got dressed. Komori praised Himuro's outfit, saying it suited him perfectly. At the party, they noticed the president dressed as the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. As they admired each other's costumes, Himuro received a text from Suki saying she had arrived and was about to change. When she stepped out in her vampire outfit, fake blood dripping from her mouth, Himuro instantly froze up. She reassured him that it was just makeup and had been done to look realistic. He quickly excused himself to calm down while Komori praised Suki's execution, secretly noticing how smitten she was with Himuro's appearance. Toward the climax of the event, the mummy team was the winner and the vampire team was the runner-up. After the party, Katori thanked Suki for her help, and the group agreed to combine their prizes for a celebratory feast. Meanwhile, Suki and Himuro shyly stole glances at each other. Later that night, Himuro went back to the office and found Suki still in costume. When he asked why she hadn't changed, she suggested they leave the office dressed up since she'd arrived late and didn't get to properly enjoy the Halloween party. Happy, Himuro agreed. As they walked home together in their costumes, they spotted a group of people wearing the pumpkin outfits they had worked so hard to find. They laughed together and walked off into the night. During Christmas Eve, Himuro saw a snowfrost earring and bought it with the plan of giving it to Suki as a present. The next day, the colleagues went to a ski resort. Himuro was excited to try it out with Suki, so he lowered the icy temperature even further. A week earlier, Komori had shown Suki a prize contest, which she won. She then invited Suki to ski with her, but Suki turned her down due to skill issues. Adamant, Komori encouraged her to try new things, and after listening to her, Suki agreed. That morning, Himuro showed up, and once Komori learned he could ski, she asked him to teach Suki. When Saejima arrived, Komori concluded that they'd spend Christmas skiing. Presently, after Himuro confirmed Suki was ready to go, he started a blizzard. He then tried teaching her the basics, but failed miserably by using weird terms and not actually explaining what to do. Komori had to take over, and with proper guidance, Suki caught on quickly. In no time, she skied like a pro. Amazed, the others commended her, while Himuro acted like a doting mother watching her baby take its first steps. Right after, Komori suggested they head for the slopes, and Saejima told them the lodge above served great curry, so they should take a break there. While skiing up the slope, Suki noticed paw prints in the snow and asked Komori about them. Komori tricked her into believing they belonged to her mom before opening up that her mother was human. Curious, Saejima asked Himuro about his family. Himuro told them his parents were ordinary office workers, while his younger sister was just a student. Surprised that he had a sister, Suki realized there was still so much she didn't know about him despite working together for a while. Still on the topic, Himuro recalled how Yukimin had told him she got a part-time job at a ski lodge for the winter. The colleagues then wondered if she was at this resort and hoped to meet her. Upon arriving at the lodge, Himuro was shocked to actually see his little sister working there. Left with no choice, he introduced her. Yukimin proudly told them she was a streamer and a model, bragging about her huge following and makeup tutorial videos. Curious, Komori asked for her channel name, but Yukimin's mood instantly crashed since she was too embarrassed to say it. Saejima, however, managed to work around it and was impressed by her popularity. Yukimin admitted her highest viewed video was embarrassingly just her devouring a massive bowl of udon. Suki surprised her by calling her cute despite her embarrassment. When Yukimin realized who Suki was, she nearly exposed Himuro for always simping over her, but Himuro quickly stopped her. Mad at him, she switched over to Suki and worriedly asked if her brother had caused her any trouble. To her surprise, Suki praised Himuro, calling him reliable and even mentioning how he taught her how to ski. Impressed, Yukimin stared at Suki for a while and noticed her eyes were the same color as her brother's. Entranced, Yukimin started a blizzard, hugged Suki, and blurted out that she loved her. Himuro had to rush over and pull her off. Later that evening, they all gathered for takoyaki to celebrate Christmas. As Suki prepared the grill, everyone dressed in their Christmas outfits. Worried, she asked Himuro if the heat wouldn't bother him, but he told her he loved takoyaki. Leaning closer, she whispered that she'd give him extra toppings. Flustered, he unleashed a blizzard. When the octopus balls were ready, the group dug in while drinking alcohol. They eventually ran out, so Himuro followed Suki outside to buy more. On their way, he asked about Nayamero, and Suki told him she had hired a sitter. Walking toward a large Christmas tree, Himuro finally mustered the courage to give her the present he bought. Suki opened it and found a blanket. Surprise, she told him she hadn't gotten him anything. Shy, Himuro explained that he bought it because he's always causing blizzards in the office. She smiled and told him the blizzards didn't bother her at all, because whenever she was with him, she strangely felt warm inside. Himuro thanked her, and when she asked why, he simply told her he just felt like saying it. She thanked him back, and the two stood together under the Christmas tree. Later that night, Saejima and Komori noticed Suki and Himuro had been gone for quite a while. The next day, as they headed back to Akasuka, Himuro remembered the snowflake earrings he had originally planned to give Suki. But after overhearing some ladies' conversation, he changed his mind and bought the blanket instead. On the bus, Suki used the blanket and told him it was warm, instead of taking the win. He apologized for his sister's obnoxious behavior. Suki told him she didn't see Yukimin that way at all, because she actually found her concerned about his work life. She added that he acted differently around his sister, and she was glad she got to see another side of him outside work. Himuro got emotional and triggered a blizzard inside the bus. Meanwhile, as Yukimin recorded a stream, Himuro sent her a message giving her a thumbs up for being a good wingman, but Yukimin didn't get what he meant. As the year wrapped up, Himuro resumed work and saw a summer giveaway flyer under his desk. He picked it up and remembered the time he and Suki got the George plates together. He picked up other flyers and recalled other outings he had attended with her. Lastly, he saw a cat drawing, and her image immediately popped into his mind, which made him realize that the year had been eventful. Later that morning, the president addressed them, telling the employees that they were free to go home as soon as they had cleaned the desk area. While at it, Suki conversed with Himuro and learned that their president seemed tired a little earlier because she was a Nerarian descendant, which was a nocturnal creature by nature. This was because she had burned out all her night partying energy during Christmas. As Suki handed Saejima the gathered documents to shred, she noticed the cat drawing on Himuro's desk, so she asked him if he wanted to get rid of it. He immediately rejected the idea while subconsciously lowering the temperature around him into negatives and vowed to pass down the paper to his descendants. They stared keenly into each other's eyes, but Komori teased them, causing them to become aware of their surroundings. Later that evening, after work, Himuro and Suki left the office. On their way home, Himuro tried warming his hands, saying they felt cold. It surprised Suki since he was a Shirayuki descendant. Concerned, Himuro asked Suki why she wasn't wearing gloves, and the cool colleague told him a superstitious adage that denoted her warmth. Himuro earnestly called her a very nice person, and as a reward, she chose to share her warmth with him by holding his hands. Instantly, Himuro caused snow to fall, but a bystander ruined their lovey-dovey session by pointing to her guardian and telling them about the pair holding hands. They immediately untwined their hands and stood next to each other. While Suki felt a bit awkward, Himuro thanked his stars for finally achieving all of Slice of Life and Romance main character's end goal of holding hands. Later that night, Himuro streamed Yukimin's video where the eccentric sister planned to build a snow hut. After watching the video, Himuro unwound as he saw he didn't have anything to do for the time being. His mind wandered towards Suki as he suspected he wouldn't be able to see her until the new year. From nowhere, Yukimin showed up, asking him for help with a stream whereby she melted one snowman for each ring of the New Year's bell. With that, she demanded 108 snowmen, which seemed unreasonable to make. As Himuro scolded her, she showed him a picture of Suki, so he mellowed down and subconsciously created 2 snowmen. Suddenly, his phone chimed, and he received a message from Suki. Suki, on the other hand, sat with her cat at home when she got a message from the others asking her to celebrate New Year's Eve with them. Quickly, she set up her phone and joined the virtual meeting, where her colleagues waited for others to connect. As soon as Himuro saw her, his heart fluttered. The colleagues shared a toast, and Suki learned that she was drinking from the same brand as Himuro. They got talkative for a bit, and 2 other colleagues joined the call. As they shared a toast, they drank and conversed casually until the new year. At one point, one of them suggested they attend the New Year's shrine the next day. Suki seconded the idea and said she would put on her kimono. Imagining Suki in a kimono, Himuro's mind and body zoned out for a bit. The others who would be available for the meetup were scheduled to meet at a nearby shrine the following afternoon. As they wished each other a happy new year, they logged out, leaving only Himuro and Suki. They wished each other a happy new year and reminded each other they'd be meeting later at the shrine. After the call, they both looked forward to working with each other. The next day, Himuro waited for the others at the shrine, and after a while, he tried his luck by pulling a fortune paper, but he drew the worst luck possible. After several trials, Himuro woke up and learned it was a dream. Yukimin quickly urged him to meet with his friends, or else he'd be late. Shortly afterwards, he arrived at the venue and met his colleagues, all dressed in their kimonos. Then he saw that Suki hadn't arrived. A few minutes later, she pulled up in her kimono, wishing them a happy new year. When Himuro saw her, he nearly caused a blizzard. Shortly after, they walked into the temple, and Katori, the free-spirited collie, rushed off to try some takoyaki. The others followed him, leaving Suki alone with Himuro again. As they walked around the temple, someone bumped into Suki, causing her to fall, but Himuro quickly caught her in his arms. They locked into each other's eyes like characters from a C-rated Asian romance movie. Embarrassed, they created a little space, but unfortunately, a youngster ran through. Forced to act, Himuro held Suki so they wouldn't get separated. After a while, the others caught up with them and noticed how red Suki and Himuro's faces were. Suddenly, Komori showed up in a priestess outfit, surprising the others who hadn't expected to see her dressed that way. She told them her family owned the shrine, and then left them to continue working. With just one glance at Himuro and Suki, Komori noticed they had gotten closer. Although a bit happy for them, Komori felt sad since she didn't get the chance to act as a proper wingman. Suddenly, Saejima called out to her and showed her a protective charm he had bought for her. Shy, he struggled to express himself and wondered if she would need it, but to his surprise, Komori gladly accepted the present under the pretext that her family shrine's protective charms worked. Finally, Himuro and Suki arrived at the shrine, and as they were about to pray, Suki told Himuro of the procedure. Their first prayer was to make a resolution to the gods. With that, they clapped their hands and wished to visit the shrine together again the following year. Returning to their office in the new year, Himuro noticed Suki using the lap blanket he had bought for her last Christmas. She saw him staring at her and pointed at the blanket, saying it was very warm. As usual, Komori borrowed Suki for a while, and as Himuro watched her walk away, he noted that Suki's birthday was fast approaching. He then recalled buying frosty earrings some time back, but after overhearing some girls talk about how pushy it feels to buy gifts for females they weren't dating, Himuro ended up keeping the gift. Currently, the present sat in his drawer, and he made up his mind to hand it to her. Days later, at work, rain poured heavily, affecting Otonashi and Katori, who were on the sales team. They informed the others that the train station had stopped working due to the downpour. Worried, they thought of how to get home, so Komori suggested staying at the business hotel near the station. The girls immediately agreed, and they asked Suki how she would manage to feed Naimaro, her cat. Suki informed them that she had an automatic feeder at home. On the guy's side, Katori suggested they stay over at his place since it wasn't far from work, so the men agreed. Later that night, Saejima and Katori played games while Himuro sipped beer as he wondered how Suki was faring. He also thought of what she might be planning for her birthday. Meanwhile, at the hotel close to the train station, Komori cowered in her blanket at the sound of thunder. She wondered why the other two girls were unaffected, so Otonashi told her to think of it as fireworks since they were both so loud. Unable to fathom what she meant, Komori shivered and shut her eyes tight. Suki watched her and recalled how Naimaro always did the same thing at the sound of thunder. So she walked up to Komori and petted her, telling her to call her whenever a thunderstorm occurred. It lightened her mood, and she stared at Suki like she was her savior. Keenly observing the two of them, Otonashi changed the topic, asking Komori if she had a boyfriend. She immediately denied it, but Otonashi doubled down, concluding like Sherlock Holmes that she was dating Saejima. Flustered, Komori tried clearing the air, but she blushed so badly that Otonashi affirmed she had hit the mark. Otonashi then reminded her of the time she caught them giggling at each other while heading to the same restaurant. Komori made up an excuse, saying they had coincidentally stopped by the restaurant during lunch break. Meanwhile, Saejima sneezed after being referred to. As the guys continued gaming, Komori pointed fingers at Otonashi, making her the new subject of discussion. She asked Otonashi if something wasn't going on between her and Katori. Otonashi calmly denied it, letting her know that the reason she was always seen with Katori was that she was mentoring him. Coincidentally, Katori sneezed, which was weird since phoenixes didn't catch colds. He then saw Himuro zoned out while standing and asked him what the matter was. Himuro opened up that he was concerned about Suki. At the same time in the hotel, as the ladies argued with each other, Suki felt left out. She then opened up to them that she had never been in love before. Surprised, the two girls assured her that it wasn't that strange, but they wondered who Himuro was to her. Suddenly, Suki's phone chimed, and she saw it was a text from Himuro. As she read and replied to it, she smiled so warmly that the girls noticed and wondered who she was deceiving. Otonashi then handed them beer, and they had a toast. Himuro, on the other hand, got a reply from Suki, and his colleagues learned that he read it slowly because he didn't want to be seen as a creep. Weirded out, they corrected the noob, telling him that like a sports car ad, faster was better. As they tried to act as his wingman, he showed them a picture Suki had sent, which she took with the girls at the hotel. Himuro, down so badly, changed the weather and wished he could switch his gender just to hang out with them. On Suki's birthday, Himuro headed to work and vowed to give her the present he had bought for her. On the way, he saw her walking ahead, so he tried to catch up, but his abilities acted up, freezing him on the spot. Suddenly, he woke up and realized it was a dream. Later that day at work, as he calmed himself, Suki told Komori it was her birthday and that she had plans to take her parents out to celebrate it with them. Realizing she was already booked, Himuro made up his mind to hand her the present before she left the office. As he tried to get some alone time with her, he found her occupied and conversing with people. The one time he saw her alone typing on the computer, his boss called him and asked him to handle some tasks. Saejima also handed him a fair share of work to do. As Himuro observed Suki, he noticed that she was liked by everyone in the office, and it made his heart flutter. He approached her after seeing her alone, and she asked him for clarification regarding the following day's conference. Later, they had coffee together, and she thanked him for his help so far. Himuro then summoned the courage to ask Suki to walk home with him after work. That evening, as they headed home, Himuro wondered if it was too much for him to give her the present, since he thought she only saw him as a friend. His emotions got the best of him, and he froze the entire vicinity. Realizing he had stepped out of line, he looked worried, but Suki shocked him by saying she liked the view. She then asked if she could take it as a birthday present. He corrected her, brought out the gift he had been hesitant to give, and with his permission, Suki opened it. Inside were two beautiful snowflake earrings. She told him they would remind her of him, then tried them on before asking how she looked. Himuro stared at her gorgeously, blushed, and tried to hide his emotions. Later that night, as Suki had dinner with her parents, Himuro sat at home staring at the moon, recalling the time Suki had asked him what he wanted for his birthday, but he told her to decide. Days later, Himuro told Saejima that he had finally made up his mind and asked if they would move in with him. Komori, who happened to pass by, eavesdropped on them and dashed towards Suki to congratulate her on moving. Confused, Suki told her she wasn't moving anywhere and that she was comfortable in her apartment. Komori then wondered if she had heard wrong and quickly concluded that Himuro was having another woman move into his place. Shocked, she looked at the innocent Suki and felt bad for her. Shortly after, Komori confronted Himuro and learned that he was actually talking about a stray cat he had been seeing around his neighborhood for a while. He narrated how it had been tough for him to get close to the cat because of the blizzards he caused and how long it had taken for the cat to sober up to him. He explained that he had extended an invitation to the cat and hoped it would follow him home. As Himuro showed them the supplies he had recently bought, Suki walked in and saw the items, so he briefed her about the stray cat he wanted to parent. As his senior in raising cats, Suki told him to come to her for advice, and he did just that, asking her to join him in catching the cat. Suki accepted, and Himuro unconsciously created a blizzard. It turned out he was less resistant to her than to the little feline. Later that night, they headed to the walkway where the cat usually stayed. As they searched the shrubbery, Suki looked at the scenery and said it was refreshing to view it from another place. Meanwhile, Himuro blessed the heavens, wishing they could go on nighttime walks forever. Suki then spotted the cat, and they hurried toward it. Himuro told her to be gentle with it, but he was shocked when Suki stretched out her hand, and the cat immediately let her rub it. He complained, saying it had taken him a month for the cat to sober up to him, but Suki revealed the trick to befriending cats, which was simply holding out a finger for it to sniff. Just like that, she scooped it up and carried it toward the cage. Himuro watched jealously, wishing he could trade places with the cat to enjoy being cuddled. She then assured the cat that Himuro was a good person who would take care of it. Stunned by her kind words, Himuro promised to take care of the cat with his best efforts. With the hardest step cleared, Suki asked if he had come up with a name for it. As they thought of one, they saw its missing poster on a lamppost and learned its name was Buki, so they took it back to the owner, who thanked them for finding it. Although sad, Himuro parted with Buchi on a good note, and as he walked back with Suki, he apologized for keeping her out so late. He sulked internally, unconsciously creating icicles above his head. Suki noticed and could tell he was depressed, so she invited him over to her place the following Sunday to play with Naimaru. Immediately, Himuro created a blizzard as he realized he had crossed another hurdle. On Sunday, Himuro woke up, anticipating his meeting with Suki at her place. He created a blizzard that got Yukimin upset. Seeing she was in a bad mood, he asked what was wrong, but she refused to open up, saying it was none of his business. He shot back the same, and after a few minutes, he headed to Suki's house. On the way, he wondered what had upset Yukimin, but then he stopped at a bakery and bought a cake. as he took the train. He noted it was the first time he was ever visiting a girl at home, and even though it was thanks to Naimaro, he wished he could get closer to Suki. Himuro had always known her as a kind soul who cared for everyone, which was a good thing, but he wanted to occupy a special place in her heart. He reached her apartment and recalled helping her carry her things to the door before, but today he would finally get a whiff of her place. He pressed the doorbell, and Suki immediately showed up holding Naimaro. Upon spotting the cute cat, Himuro's blizzard went off, but he quickly controlled it and introduced himself to the black feline. She let Himuro in, and after experiencing what it felt like to step into a lady's place, he made the entire room glitter. Unknown to her that she was the real reason behind his technique, she assumed it was because of the cat. He handed her the cake and then sat in the living room, trying to control himself from ruining the perfectly arranged space. Suki then showed up with a new set of cat toys and tried to get Naimaro to play with them, but the cat simply went for the box instead. Since they couldn't force the cat to play, Suki offered to serve the cake Himuro had brought. He followed her into the kitchen to help out, and in the process their hands touched. They awkwardly stared at each other until Himuro apologized, but Suki told him she wasn't avoiding his hands. Surprised, he waited for more explanation, but just then the doorbell rang and Yukimin showed up, ruining the perfect mood. The siblings were shocked to find each other at Suki's place, and Himuro realized that was why Yukimin had woken up earlier than usual that morning. He privately spoke to her, asking her to leave, but when Suki said the cake could go around, Yukimin chose to stay. She served them tea and cake, and as they dug in, Himuro wished his sister hadn't crashed the good time he was having. On the contrary, Suki felt it was nice to have more people around. She then asked if it was okay for her to come over to their place. Fired up, Himuro responded earnestly, accidentally creating a blizzard in the process. The sudden cold startled Naimaro, and the cat refused to be petted. Depressed, Himuro blamed himself for ruining his chance with the cat, but Suki told him not to worry, saying the cat seemed to be enjoying the show just like her. Unfortunately, Himuro didn't hear the last part, so he missed one of the obvious signs Suki put up for him. The next day, while arriving at work, Himuro smiled as he recalled making up with Naimaro. He also wished to get closer to Suki. When he entered his office, Komori asked if he had gotten closer. Shocked, thinking she somehow knew what had happened, he brainstormed before realizing she was talking about Buchi, so he briefed her about the lost cat. Sensing the initial misunderstanding, Saejima probed Himuro further to open up, and as he tried denying what happened over the weekend, Suki walked into the office and saw them teasing him. She noted that they were all getting along. At the train station, Himuro waited for Suki, who upon arrival, apologized for being late. Rather than being offended, he popped out little snowmen far greater than his chances of popping cherries. He tried hiding his cold, but then he sneezed, plummeting his aura points. Since they had time before the bullet train arrived, they decided to buy lunch. After rummaging through the lists, they settled on a mini octopus pot. Suki told him they'd have a matching set, and he realized it would be the third matching item they had. He jubilated internally before remembering they were going on a business trip. Later on the train, Himuro recalled his boss appointing him and Suki for the trip. Because they'd have to sleep over, his emotions got the best of him, and he nearly buried the Buddha descendant in snow. Currently, he vowed to make good use of the business trip and not disappoint his boss. Himuro then confirmed from Suki that it was the second time she'd left Naimaro all alone, and that the cat didn't need a sitter since they were staying just for a night. Still on the topic, Suki told him Naimaro liked him a lot and hoped he'd pay more visits. Gladly, he assured her, and blushed while at it. She then informed him that the hotel didn't prepare food, which meant they'd have to get something to eat elsewhere. Like Batman with more than enough prep time, Himuro revealed his countermeasure, which was a beef grilling spot. She liked the idea and then opened up, saying she was glad to go with him because she'd feel comfortable despite being unfamiliar with the area and the trip's grueling schedule. Himuro blushed as he realized Suki relied on him. Arriving at their destination, he made up his mind to do it his very best so he could enjoy dinner with her. They went into the office and worked earnestly. Despite the long, grueling hours, they managed to pull through. Later that night, on their way to dinner, Himuro's vision blurred, and he staggered, nearly falling. Concerned, Suki asked if he was alright. He tried to fake it, but the ever-attentive lady reminded him he had sneezed earlier that morning, which meant he had a cold, and the meeting must have drained him. She told him it was best to cancel dinner, but Himuro refused because he didn't want to ruin the reason he had put up all his efforts. As he tried assuring her, he regressed into his younger self, but Suki didn't act surprised. Instead, she checked his temperature and noted he was burning up. Internally, Himuro cursed his luck for missing out on the meal he'd been looking forward to with her. Suki, on the other hand, offered to get him ice cream since that had worked for him back in Okinawa. This time, Himuro explained it was different because he was sick, which meant he'd have to wait until the fever went down. So Suki changed her mind and told him she'd take him back to the hotel and call the restaurant herself. She held his hand, saying it was unsafe for youngsters to walk alone at night. Back at the hotel, Suki told him they'd share a room since she couldn't leave him alone with a fever. She assured him it was okay and said she'd sleep on the sofa. As a gentleman, he rejected the idea, trying to sound cool, but in reality, he looked like a youngster fighting for the right to act like an adult. His fever kicked in, and he bumped into her, causing them to fall on the bed. They locked eyes, and as the atmosphere grew intense, his boss called. Himuro quickly apologized and rushed to pick up. He reported how the meeting went and promised to send the files. After the call, Suki offered to write the report, reminding him that he was ill and needed rest. Minutes later, she typed while he rested on the bed. Himuro apologized over and over, but Suki told him it was no big deal. She then left to get him some gelatin. Right after she left, he blamed himself for troubling her and worried she'd grow sick of him. Meanwhile, at the convenience store, Suki recalled how warm he had felt. She zoned out for a moment before quickly gathering items and hurrying back to the hotel. There, she saw Himuro fast asleep and softly said he was adorable. She checked his temperature and hoped he would recover quickly. In the middle of the night, Himuro woke up all grown up and saw Suki sleeping on the sofa. He felt bad and considered putting her on the bed, but he didn't want to wake her, so he stopped. He stared at her pretty face, leaning in too close before quickly backing up, muttering to himself that they needed to maintain boundaries as colleagues. The next morning, Suki woke up and saw Himuro back to normal. Typing on the computer, she greeted him good morning, and when he replied, she noticed the bags under his eyes. Assuming he was still under the weather, she walked over to check on him. Himuro quickly confessed that he hadn't gotten enough sleep after writing a follow-up email to a client. Suki read him like an open book, asking if he'd stayed up all night because he felt bad she had to sleep on the couch. He tried to deny it after being caught red-handed, but she smoothly changed the topic by asking if he was hungry. Realizing she hadn't eaten either, Suki mentioned the snack she had bought last night at the convenience store. A few minutes later, they set up breakfast like a picnic and dug in. Not long after, they boarded the train back to their hometown. On the way, they talked about the business meeting and the reports that needed to be delivered. Still, Himuro couldn't help feeling sad, and he noted that they hadn't really had any fun together. They arrived at Akasuka, and on their way out, Himuro silently wished they'd had more fun. Suddenly, a car passed by, and the cherry blossoms swirled around them. They both remarked how they hadn't noticed the flowers the previous day. Suki stopped at a familiar spot and reminded Himuro that it was where she had first seen him a year ago. She admitted how surprised she had been, watching him freeze up from nerves. This time, Himuro thanked her for her help back then, and she smiled warmly at him. As they recalled the past year's events, Suki opened up about how she had always been called cold and stoic, never having close friends. Back then, she thought her entire life would stay that way, but now she felt things had changed. Turning to Himuro, she smiled and told him it was because she met him. Himuro blushed hard at her words before admitting his own truth. Being a descendant of a snow woman had made him give up on many things. He had assumed he'd never be able to have plants, go to the beach, or even pet a cat. But thanks to her, he'd been able to do all that and more. Suki blushed at his remark and then handed him a snack they had forgotten to try on the train. After that, they headed back to the office, where they announced their return. To their surprise, their colleagues immediately asked if they were free the coming weekend. Saejima explained that they were making plans for flower viewing. After filling them in, the colleagues gave them a warm welcome back. That's the end of today's video. If you stayed until now, comment down below Sweet Milkers, and leave a like if you want another recap like this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out the next video. It might just be your new favorite anime recap.